This is the Boys Podcast on TV Podcast Industries, and we're talking about Season 5, Episode 3, Every One of You Sons of Bitches.
It's why, ultimately, you won't win either. You're fighting an unbeatable foe. You know that, right? Who? Vought? Please. It's more powerful than Vought, or Homelander. More powerful than nature or life itself. It's profit and loss, supply and demand, the elegant flow of currency across the globe. We're just cogs in a great machine. And we all have our part to play.
Welcome back, fellow boys and girls, to the Boys Podcast on TV Podcast Industries. We are talking about the third episode in Season 5, Every One of You Sons of Bitches. I'm one of your hosts, John.
I'm one of your other hosts, Darick. I hope I can keep that in.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah.
Heavens to Betsy's.
Yes, welcome back to our podcast about the boys. Lots of stuff going on at the moment with Invincible, with Daredevil Born Again, and with the boys every week at the moment. So we're fitting all the podcasts in when we can, hoping to record each episode before the next one comes out, is kind of where we are at the moment, isn't it?
Yes, so we're running a little late on our release of this, but we are here, and of course you can subscribe to us over on our website at tvpodcastindustries.com, where you can subscribe to us on any good or evil podcast player of your choice.
Or on any bloody podcast player, John.
That's true.
That was what it was.
Yes.
And we also want to hear your thoughts. You can email us to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com or pop on over to our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tvpodcastindustries. Or you can join us over in our Discord, the details of which are in the show notes right here.
Indeed they are. And a quick reminder to you fellow boys and girls that we will be on to our third question of the boys pub quiz for this season. So remember to gather all 8 answers to the pub quiz questions at the end of the season and email them into us at feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com, and you'll be in with a chance to get your hands on some of the boys' goodies.
And if you don't mind telling us where you're located in the world, that would be really useful when we decide what those goodies may be, so we can ensure that you're able to get your hands on them too.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But without further heavens to Betsy's, Darick, can you give us some of the episode details for episode 3 of The Boys?
Absolutely. Showrunner for the show, of course, is Eric Kripke. This is based on the comic series by Garth, Ennis and Darick Robertson, with executive producers on the show Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. This episode was written by Ellie Monahan, working on the show since the beginning of the series, and wrote Season 4, Episode 3 as well, and the Season 2 premiere of Gen V. The episode was directed by Gaviola, the third episode of The Boys after Season 4, Episode 2 and 6, and also directed 3 and 5 of Gen V Season 2 as well. So 2 people heavily involved in the crossover show. Gen V.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Nice little shorthand.
Yeah, not even going to call that a spin-off show in Gen V. It's a crossover show now because so many characters appeared on that show, and there's lots of mentions of them over here on the main show as well.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll get to see them at some point.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that.
Nice
it's almost the same as Jessica Jones over on our Daredevil Born Again.
Yes.
When are we going to see them?
Very soon.
When are we going to see Jessica Jones?
Yes, very soon, I promise.
Good stuff.
So, John, do you want to tell us what the game is with your synopsis for The Boys, Season 5, Episode 3, Every One of You Sons of Bitches?
Sure. Vought cleans up Soldier Boy's image and he becomes a member of the Seven. Sister Sage reveals that the first version of Compound V, V1, which Soldier Boy has, slows the aging process so much that it makes him practically immortal. This prompts Homelander, after an angelic hallucination of Madelyn Stillwell, to pursue a vial of the legendary Compound V, V1. Meanwhile, the boys, with Stan Edgar's help, locate a base where V1 may be located. Butcher finds Ryan and gets Ryan to agree that he will kill Homelander with the virus, even though it will kill both Butcher and Ryan in the process. Elsewhere, Zoe Newman, still angry at Butcher for killing her mother, also finds out that her father, Samir, is still alive. As they leave Butcher's makeshift laboratory, they destroy the remaining samples of the virus.
Ugh.
The Deep, Cindy, Dognot, and Black Noir II are after Stan Edgar for Homelander and arrive at his bunker. After getting inside thanks to Maverick, Translucent's son, who finally knows the truth about Huey's role in his father's killing, Noir captures Edgar. But in the game of the Seven, Deep betrays him, knocking him out so that he can take Edgar to Homelander himself. In the fight at the bunker, meanwhile, Maverick confronts Huey, and in the fight, Cindy kills Maverick, and Annie kills Cindy. Against Butcher's advice and without the virus, Ryan confronts Homelander about the raping of his mother, Becca, which leads to a violent fight that leaves Ryan badly injured. As the boys plan to find the V1 near the site of an old base called Fort Harmony, Annie takes off and leaves them, while Butcher finds the wounded Ryan.
Some brutality in this episode once again, isn't there?
Oh yeah, that was pretty brutal at the end with Homelander and Ryan, for sure.
Yes, it was. People have been reminding me, if you haven't watched Invincible, people have been reminding me about a very similar scene with father and son. Think Ryan, and what made it even funnier is the actor who plays Ryan was imitating that on his Instagram after this episode came out as well. So he's fully aware that we had Omni-Man versus Mark, and now we have Homelander versus Ryan here.
Indeed.
Both in Prime Video shows.
Yeah,
so,
indeed.
Yeah. Daddy-son issues definitely going on in the superhero shows.
Yes, there are quite a lot of parallels with what we're covering at the moment.
There certainly are.
So, yes. But all great stuff, which is actually testament to it, that there are very similar themes going on, but it is and feels different and fresh.
It does.
Between the two programs.
I just wish they were stretched out a bit more so you would even feel those connections. It would be great.
Yes, a little bit of distance between the shows when they release.
Yeah,
definitely.
Would be nice.
But let us get into our chosen moments for this. Our boys moment, the Seven moment, and of course, other outstanding moments from the episode. Let's kick off with the boys moment.
Oi, oi.
I'll take the first moment, I think, because it's really the opening of the episode. It's Ryan in hiding in Russia. Oh, love that they did this, because we were definitely questioning whether we knew something or whether we knew where Ryan had disappeared to. It's been a couple of years since the last season of the show, and just the fact that everybody's kind of talking around Ryan, but nobody's mentioning him, nobody's allowed to mention his name in front of Homelander. We were kind of going, did something happen in between the seasons, or did we forget something since last season? But no, Ryan's been on the run. Ryan has to be in hiding completely because he's got these superpowers. If Homelander ever finds out where he is, he'll probably chase him down. So we have this opening sequence, which was so well done. It was like the Predator as the armed troops are going through this house in the darkness, and you just see these shadows of what we know as Ryan by the end of it, going through and taking them all out, because nobody can know that Ryan's there. Loved it, absolutely loved it. He's looking like he's been using his powers quite a lot. He's looking very powerful, and I suppose just as uncompromising as both of his fathers, Homelander and Billy Butcher. Even we have a moment where the leader of the armed forces is saying, well, I've got a family, and Ryan pays no mind to that. He kills him instantly. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a really good little opener, I
Mm-hmm.
think, for this episode. Firstly, just that, okay, here's Ryan. This is where he's been hiding out in Russia. And secondly, you see him sort of going after those Russian soldiers,
Mm-hmm.
like you say, a bit like sort of Predator or Alien, taking them out slowly but surely as their numbers thin. So yeah, I like this, because I think in the end this episode has some really good stuff around Ryan in it, where he's been, and clearly his relationship with his father.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and also his relationship with Zoe as well, which I thought was really good that they came back to that Zoe's in contact with him. They have been in a relationship together. She texts him and he arrives. You know, there's a great moment where she texts him and he takes him about 30 seconds to arrive because he's flying from Russia to the US. But Zoe's kind of going, I just sent you a message. Where the hell were you? You know, as if he's been massively delayed, But I love that they're tying all the stuff up. We mentioned it before in the first 2 episodes of the season that we're in the final season now. So they are trying to connect all of the dots throughout the last 4 seasons of the show together in this final season. So
no, definitely.
Cool way to do that.
I think that probably brings me on to my boys' point, which is that both Zoe and Ryan find out the truth about their fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like this because, yes, initially it's about them coming together just outside of Edgar's bunker where Zoe meets up with Ryan. She wants to find Butcher with Ryan because of the fact that he killed her mother, but Ryan thinks that this is dangerous. However, he knows that he's being watched by Butcher because as she leaves, basically saying he's not got any sort of, he's too cowardly, he's got no bottle for this. He goes, I can smell the Tanqueray from here. And
so a gin watch this episode, John.
Exactly. I think it's suggestive here that the relationship that Ryan has with Butcher and certainly later with Homelander, all very troubled, all a little bit tense and unclear, uncertain, and in the end it comes down to the person who is the least awful in many respects.
Yes.
But I do like the fact that Zoe and Ryan have got this kind of connection. Zoe primarily because, not only is she really annoyed, she wants revenge for what Butcher did to her mum, and even, she tells Huey to go F himself when he tries to, in a sense, apologize to her for her mother getting murdered.
Yeah.
Like, she wants nothing to do with the boys, let alone Butcher, so it is all relatively tense between her and all these people that have descended on her grandfather's nuclear bunker, effectively.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be locked up with all of these people inside, but it's really interesting that she wants to take the opportunity to work with Ryan to kill Billy Butcher, and Ryan's going to go, no, I know you think you're strong. I know you think you have power. I know you think I have power.
Yeah.
But we can't go after Billy Butcher because he will kill you, definitely.
Yes.
He may not kill me, but he'll kill you. He might stop himself. But,
absolutely. Yeah. I do like in this as well the fact that Maverick is also there at the same time, that Mother's Milk says to Stan Edgar, are you trying to start a new teenage Kicks? And he just like kind of very droll turns around to him and says, I believe children are our future, which was just great moment.
Yes, really
from, good. Stan Edgar.
Really good. Maverick and his mango body spray. He's spraying constantly over himself. Like any good teenager would. Yeah.
But ultimately what happens here is that Zoe also then finds out that her father, Samir, is alive. She catches a ride with Frenchie and Kimiko. She hides out in the back of the van as they go back to Butcher's temporary laboratory, and she is about to take out Samir when he turns over. He's asleep. He's in his makeshift bed. And suddenly she realizes that not only did Butcher kill her mother, he's also been lying about her father being dead after showing the sort of bottom half of his leg that he chopped off. So she's been thinking he's been dead. All of a sudden, she realizes that he's alive and working to create the virus that will ultimately kill her as much as anyone else that she knows, like Maverick and Ryan. So,
and did Billy also tell Samir that not only is his wife dead, but Zoe's dead as well?
Exactly.
I think he did. So the big manipulation is Billy's told both of them that each other is dead, and he's getting Samir to create this virus against his better wishes because he wants to get revenge for the death of his daughter, which didn't happen, and the death of his wife, which happened at the hands of Billy Butcher. So no wonder they do what they do.
Absolutely. And so this all comes out, and like this strategically, tactically, this is really bad for Butcher because Zoe and Samir, as they decide to flee and leave the confines of this laboratory, destroy all the vials and petri dishes with the virus.
Yeah.
And Kimiko ultimately lets them go.
Yes.
And I like how this has a little bit of a dangerous edge to it when Butcher finds out. And you can see his little dark worm and vein moving around his forehead.
Yes,
because
you can.
basically Kimiko said, "I let them go because you were being awful, effectively."
Yeah.
And Frenchie has to step in and say, "If you kill her, I will not work on the virus." So his better judgment kicks in here, really.
Now, this did feel a little bit like extending the storyline for the season, because they were very close. They had the virus. All they needed to do was use it, and that would have been the end of Homelander. But now they have to recreate the virus for the rest of the season. So they have 5 episodes to recreate the virus now.
Exactly.
But at least they know they've created it once. So potentially, Frenchie, being as good as he is able to follow the instructions and get there quicker.
Yeah.
Because if you start from scratch, which it seems to be here when they've destroyed everything, this could take years for him to get perfected what Samir had created. But hopefully there's some notes there that can follow.
Agreed. And then, of course, Ryan ultimately gets confirmation when he asks the question of Homelander, who he faces basically because he's been egged on to do, at least by Butcher, but with the virus, on finding out that the virus isn't there. He still wants to ask the questions. This is his father, but he's been told that he effectively raped his mother. And so goes to ask him and realizes that Homelander is the piece of crap that he suspected.
Exactly.
He's not able to answer Ryan properly. And you have...
And Ryan can hear his elevated heart using the Daredevil skill as well to tell that he's lying to him. So Ryan knows for definite that Homelander has finally confirmed he did rape his mother.
So a lot being found out about fathers in this episode.
Absolutely.
Good stuff for Zoe. At least her father is alive, and pretty horrific stuff for Ryan as he realizes sort of the depths at which Homelander has plummeted.
Absolutely.
But he probably knew that anyway. So I kind of liked how this all kind of came together here.
Yeah, lots of revelations and reveals for the younger generation here. I just want to underline what you said about Stan Egger's response about, I believe the children are our future. Good joke, of course, because it's connected with Michael Jackson's line from a song. But he doesn't say no. And he does have, maybe not by the end of this episode, he doesn't have translucent, but he does still have Zoe. He does still have the Gen V characters. So maybe Stan Egger is going to set up his own version of Teenage Kicks in the future with those characters in a future spin-off.
Yeah, and I mean, he was well planned enough to have a nuclear bunker that ultimately only gets breached because of someone knows the code.
Well, exactly, yeah.
But so, given he's been there day in, day out, likelihood is that there is some form of a plan potentially here with Zoe. Even if it is with her coursing Ryan, that is part of the strategy for Stan Edgar and indeed for Zoe. Who knows? But I think we can move on to our 7 moments.
You're not the real heroes. I'm the real hero.
Yes, our 7 moment.
I think...
Where do we want to go? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I can kick this off. So, Soldier Boy ultimately is alive and well here.
Yes, he is.
And he's getting a gong as he joins, his, in quotes, rightful place in the 7. The other side of it here is that Soldier Boy is confirmed as being Homelander's father, which Homelander tells the press.
Why, John? Why did you tell him?
Well, I'm guessing it's because he needs the limelight to be shone right back at him.
Yeah,
it's been taken away.
It seems like the attention is taken away from him for a second, so he has to make a massive announcement. And I love the reaction of Soldier Boy here. Just like, why is he doing this?
Yeah.
But all the other reveals that are coming out around it is all about this V1, which is a massive reveal for the show, because we've known about it for a couple of episodes, of course, for a couple of seasons, of course. But V1, the initial unofficial version of Compound V that Soldier Boy and the rest of his compatriots got can keep them alive forever. It slows their aging so much that they can live forever. They will be immortal, effectively. And Homelander, of course, doesn't have V1, which again makes him very, very jealous.
Yes, he has normal V. I think what I really enjoy here, though, is just Soldier Boy's response to Homelander. Is like, joke's on you, son. Look at you, the softest, wettest boy.
Yeah.
Because he's got the Rolls Royce, the gold standard of V1, at least in terms of protecting him from viruses. And you have Homelander in basically with the newer version that looks like the old version, but maybe has the bonnet of, I don't know, a Ford Escort underneath it, or something like that, like a Capri, I guess.
Okay. Yep.
So it's kind of really interesting. I do like that we get a little bit of history of the V1 compound. That it's like Operation Paperclip, where Vought was brought over from Europe after World War II. He had been doing all this testing in the concentration camps. So a bit like a Dr. Mengelev. Or Dr. Mengele, is it? I think in the concentration camps, or the infamous one that kind of did lampshades with human skin and all this kind of stuff. Whereas Vought was trying to test the V1, unsuccessfully, but lots of people to test it on. Operation Paperclip equivalent comes over. It starts to get a little wobbly for him because, yes, people are dying by his continued testing of the Compound V that he's doing. And in the end, the Cold War means that he is given the carte blanche to go ahead and continue the tests. And hence you get, Soldier Boy, but equally all the other V1 soups. But it's a small number of people that have managed to survive the pure slaughter of this experimental testing.
Yes, it is. And a lot of this, I think, is lay up for the spin-off show, the prequel series that we'll have with Soldier Boy. It's just the fact they mention Stormfront so specifically in here, and we get a reaction from Soldier Boy at the mention of her name. So that's to be played out in the other show. The fact that we get a bit of the early history of how it was developed as well, with characters we're going to see in Vought Rising coming next year. So a lot of this story is just a bit of background, so that when we do see these characters back in Vought Rising, that we'll understand where they've come from. Yeah.
But even the point then that because now everything becomes dedicated to finding, recreating, and testing to get a V1 equivalent or to back engineer it for Homelander. He even starts to say, well, we have camps of criminals to test on.
Exactly.
It's the same kind of concept, but thinks it's something different.
Yeah.
But it's not. Exactly. It's the same old fascism, just given a different spin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is effectively confirming that the camps where all the Starlighters are, the freedom camps, are definitely concentration camps, and he's willing to use them exactly the same way that Vought would have used them back in the World War II. So yeah.
I think the other interesting thing with Soldier Boy in this episode as well is just that he makes it into bed with Firecracker. Heavens to Betsy. She has a good old ride there by the looks of it. And
their conversation about the guns beforehand, the gun foreplay, I guess you call it.
Exactly.
It's hilarious.
But we also have another reference to Shari Lewis from Soldier Boy, who was a puppeteer of Lamb Chop, I believe.
Yes, John, way before our years. But yes, she would have been doing kids' TV shows back in the mid-50s. Someone that would have been a contemporary of his back in the 50s.
Yeah, Shari Lewis, an old Soldier Boy at it.
Well,
rabbits or sheep.
In Studio 54, yes.
Yes, indeed. The other interesting thing, though, we get from this post-exhaustion kind of stage in bed is Firecracker saying, well, I'm a really good read of character, and I haven't seen Homelander look at anyone like he looks at you, Soldier Boy. And Soldier Boy, it's kind of interesting from Soldier Boy. He's kind of, in a sense, he's trying to learn a bit about Homelander.
Yeah.
But Soldier Boy says, but he's a strange guy, and I've had a threesome with Gary Busey. So yes, I like the fact that there's something happening here. Like, Soldier Boy is quite happy to sort of lay it on Homelander that, well, you know, you're in a bit of a mess here because you don't have V1. I do.
Yeah.
I'm basically immortal. Like, they've had this back and forth a lot, and now he's also realizing that maybe Firecracker has identified that he does look up to him as a father to some degree.
Yeah, she's definitely seeing something. Like, the other interesting thing that came out of this conversation was that Soldier Boy was having sex with Firecracker just to have some petty revenge on Homelander, and then finds out they've never had sex. She's been a mother to him, as we know, the scenes that we've seen of her lactating for him, just like Madelyn Stillwell did in the past. So that didn't work out. It's not going to be a revenge that Soldier Boy had sex with her because she's never had sex with Homelander. So again, absolutely brilliant takes from Jensen Ackles in reaction to what's going on around him. He just seems completely incredulous that this person has existed as a human. Like, he, in that argument when he's saying to him, you know, effectively, you're an absolute waste of space. I have no pride in you, just shame. And then he says to him, you know, whether it is the virus that kills you or just old age, I will be here centuries longer than you are, effectively. You know, so you will be dead long before I am. I won't repeat the exact phrase that he said, but that's pretty much what he was trying to say.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Anything else on Soldier Boy, John, for the episode?
No, I think just, again, really good to get this character. It's just the dynamic that he brings with Homelander. It's almost like just it's petty rivalry.
Absolutely.
But it's like petty rivalry between gods. Do you know what I mean? And
exactly that.
They have all this power and so on, but it's the little things like, well, I'm going to have sex with someone who I think you've had sex with just so that I can tell you the next time I see you.
Exactly.
All this kind of stuff. I've got V1, you don't. Nah.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
It does feel like those stories of Mount Olympus, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's just that really good childish dynamic between these people that believe they're doing, you know, God's work.
Well, yes,
in a sense,
their own work and their gods.
Their own, exactly. Yeah.
exactly. I have a 7 moment as well. My 7 moment is the horde of angelic hosts visiting Homelander, because it is one of the most messed up moments we've seen in The Boys for a very long time. As we have the return of Madelyn Stillwell, in full regalia as an angel, or a doctor. No, or Jesus? No, and the angel is what she comes back. What a week to do this particular scene as well. Having a religious icon scene.
Mental.
But the craziness of what's effectively going on in Homelander's head. He's seeing, this is obviously a vision in his own mind, where he has this person that he murdered again. You know, he blew out her brains back in season 1, but he's hearing the voices of everyone around him chastising him, criticizing him. He's hearing the voice of Soldier Boy. He's hearing the voice of A-Train until Madelyn Stillwell arrives and tells him to baptize his enemies in blood. She's telling him he should rise up to being a god. Interestingly, it kind of clarifies that reaction that he had back at A-Train's funeral when the priest on stage was calling out for everybody to worship the Lord, and you saw a bit of a look cross over Homelander's face. Here, we realize that look was Homelander going, why are they worshipping God? I'm here, and I've saved more people than God.
Yeah,
They
and he
should
has
be
that
worshipping
again.
me. Yeah,
He has that again in the Vought Tower when they're pardoning Soldier Boy.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the light and again, you have Madelyn Stillwell saying, "My sweet little boy."
Exactly.
So it's another little flash to that. Then you've got the big hallucination where she's basically saying, well, who is more loved than Jesus, the one true God? It has been foretold. So now he is hallucinating that there is a predestiny towards everything or anything that he does. That's how he can justify it. As you say, bathe them in blood, rid the world of wicked non-believers, skin parents in front of their children.
It's just awful.
All
Absolutely
of this.
awful. And then, he questions it and goes, well, what happens afterwards? They hate me. I want them to love me. And this version of Madelyn Stillwell is saying to him, we'll kill them all until all that's left is you're faithful. And once it's only you're faithful, then there's nobody to go up against you. Nobody will find anything wrong with that because you've rooted out everybody. So it's mental what's going through his mind.
It's mental around what she's actually saying, and then the sort of the fact that the light of the world comes from her chest.
The final denouement
as her boobs light up and light up Homelander. It is so in parts funny and disturbing.
It is, absolutely. And what it leads to afterwards, we had the confrontation between Soldier Boy and Homelander earlier on in the episode. What it leads to afterwards is him in a bath full of breast milk that he's gotten in from the children's unit from the local hospital. So he's bathing in newly expressed milk and then stands up fully naked in front of Soldier Boy. And Soldier Boy puts him down again. He's trying to tell him, you're not disappointed in me. I'm disappointed in you. You've done nothing with this great power that you had. You never should have had it. I should be the one with the great power. And Soldier Boy, I love the callback to season 4 here. Soldier Boy looks at him and goes, all I see is basically a man baby with grey pubes, which is a callback to, if you remember how season 4 started, he was plucking out his grey pubes. So,
exactly.
So I love that. It's like he saw through everything and picked the one thing that would really injure Homelander. He's getting old.
Yeah. Well, and he says, I will take my immortality and I won't waste it. Like, it's like, what have you done with it? And then, but the riposte now to this is, well, I've been visited by an angel.
Yeah.
And there is a predestiny to my rule, effectively, and he is assured that there is a vial of compound V1, and that's it. It's that certainty of absolute faith, unwavering faith in the truth of a God.
Yeah.
And this is where we've got now. I'm guessing in the week that's in it with certain AI generated imagery, you think that there's other people in this world that have a similar view of themselves. And so this is all both absurd, hilarious, troubling, very prescient given the times we live in. And it's like, oh my God, how did they get this so correct?
I don't know. I have no idea. But yes, very scary, even just in the show, simply.
So, well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
heavens to Betsy.
And unfortunately, it's also out in the real world too. So, just really interesting. I wonder if just one of the writers had watched the 90s show Touched by an Angel, where each episode there's a moment where the angel helping out locals goes, I'm an angel, and tells them how to sort their life out, and then went, do you know how we could pervert that massively? We could turn it into Madelyn Stillwell, who says, I've only got one more thing to do here for you, and then opens up her top to show him her angelic breasts.
That light up the world.
Light up the world.
Oh, my God.
Well, I think that's probably enough on our 7 moments, John. Should we move on to our final section?
Yes. Let's go on to our other outstanding moments of this episode.
Thank you. You have 5 minutes to make your openings.
Oh, I love that clip. That is the exploding heads from back in season 3, if you don't remember. So it's a moment that stood out to us as a bit of a shocker and something different from the main antagonist and protagonist moments. John, what's your outstanding moment from the episode?
My main one is that Cindy ultimately gets killed in the attack on San Edgar's bunker.
Right.
And it's mainly because she's been floating around. She was there sort of last season.
Yep.
She was there at the start of this season there in episode 1 at the Freedom Camp, being one of the camp guards and blowing up people's heads, as is her will. And I just like the fact that here she is doing this to Huey, and it looks like, as Starlight walks in, that Huey effectively has just been killed, and Starlight kills her in response.
Yes.
But you see Huey coming up from behind the bed, all covered in blood again, because it's Maverick's head that has exploded, because he was invisible and in between Cindy and Huey. So interestingly, Cindy's power was always directional. She had to see and squeeze the hand.
Yes. Yeah.
She did that at Huey, but Maverick was in the way.
Yeah.
But I just liked how this played out, because I literally was, oh my God, they've just killed Huey.
I was 100% going, oh, this must be the scene where Jack Quaid gets covered head to toe in someone's blood, because that happens every season.
And the response then from Starlight as well, really good, effectively killing Cindy. So, and then leaving and flying off.
Yeah. And saying effectively, she can't do this anymore. When she was on her own, lots of people died under her watch, but she feels that if she's still around with this crew, with the boys, they're all going to die around her and she'll be left, and she can't have responsibility for this. So it is a real breakup episode. Everybody kind of going off in different directions, particularly here with Annie heading off on her own again. So really interesting. I do love the setup for this, which is basically that Homelander's sending them all to retrieve Stan Edgar. So we have the Deep, we have Black Noir, we have Dognot, who's the guy that can find anything.
Tracking.
Yeah, he's like a proper dog. He can track from miles away by his sense of smell.
Imagine if he met Sheline.
Well, yeah, but here he's met Maverick, who sprayed himself in body spray every 3.5 seconds because Maverick's dad, who was killed by Huey, had done the advertising campaign for that particular product. So he sprays himself all the time to remind him of his dad. And I love that that's what happens with Dognot. He instantly can smell this kid coming out who, even though he's completely invisible, he catches Maverick. And then Maverick finds out what happened, that it was Huey that killed his dad. So
lets them in through the keypad.
Exactly, just give the keypad. There was a great story during the week this week about, all these bunkers that are owned by the billionaires around the world that they've set up for when the inevitable war happens and the overthrowing of the rich comes, that they'll be in the bunkers. And the one thing they haven't taken account of is, well, the security team could probably turn on you and take over that bunker pretty easily. So a lot of fear around the world with the billionaires all of a sudden, that they went, oh, hang on a second, those people that are supposed to be taking care of me and bringing food to me and taking care of my security, they could also turn on me at any stage in the future. So that's kind of what happens here.
Basically, exactly. So I kind of liked this moment, because it was you see the Deep and the others tracking to get to Stan Edgar, and by the end you see the Deep bringing Edgar to Homelander, who kind of embraces him and clearly doesn't want to kill him, because Edgar is a fountain of knowledge, and this is part of the predestiny. This is the person who will find him the V1 that he can use and become immortal.
Yes,
I am wondering, if he does find it, if he does take it, will he be able to survive it? Because this is effectively the tale we have been told, is that it was difficult to take. Absolutely. And whilst Homelander is the son of Soldier Boy, what are the other genetics there that may affect whether he's able to take on the version 1 of V?
Absolutely, yeah. So we could have a moment at the end of the series where Homelander does take V and his head explodes. That could be the end of the season. We don't know. We haven't seen the head.
We have no idea, but it's just it's a possibility that here his body, even though he is a superhero, even though he is really strong, whether it's something that his body will be able to deal with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's only had the original V.
Yeah. Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see. And we'll see in just a few more episodes because we're on the final season. So I suspect we're going to find an end for Billy and for Homelander at the end of this season. Yeah,
Definitely.
And I don't think either of them are going to involve a white picket fence anywhere.
Darick, what's your other outstanding moment?
Well, I think the biggest outstanding moment for the episode is Ryan trying to take on Homelander. It just was really interesting that he talked Zoe down from taking on Billy Butcher. I know she wanted to kill him and Ryan just wanted to go and talk to Homelander, but he's been reminded on multiple occasions how absolutely messed up Homelander is. So him choosing this moment to go and see Homelander, in a way this falls on Billy's shoulders. Billy talked him up into contacting Homelander, getting him out of Vought Tower and then releasing the virus on him, and then when the virus was destroyed, they didn't need Ryan anymore. God, Billy was really cruel in that moment where he's just, well, you're useless now. I needed you for that. I was lying to you, kid. Basically, all I wanted you for was to be able to drop this virus on Homelander, and leaves him to his own devices. And Ryan goes and calls Homelander up. They have the conversation which you mentioned earlier on, John, about the fact that Ryan wants to know how bad a person Homelander is. Did he really rape Becca? Homelander doesn't say it, but confirms it. And then Ryan gets into a fight with him. Like, I know he's getting stronger, and I know he's a teenager now. He's got his strong powers, but Homelander's been at this a very long time. He was never, ever going to win it. And just we see that break in Homelander. He's beating Ryan on the ground, and it's like he's just trying to knock him out, knowing that it's his son, and then suddenly he just turns and just continually punches Ryan over and over again until his body lies broken. It's a great scene, but it is one of those moments where you go, well, Ryan, you probably shouldn't have gone in there alone.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty brutal, and I mean, you are then wondering, has he killed him? Because he just keeps punching and punching and punching. But we do see when Butcher arrives that Ryan is still alive.
Yes.
And so
I was absolutely convinced that when Billy came in, he would see the dead body of Ryan.
Yeah, me too, actually. Just the fact that they panned away from the beating, and it was done from the low perspective, looking up at Homelander, where he just repeatedly kept punching and punching and punching, that, this is what was going to happen. But ultimately, you would say, well, Ryan now is a member of the boys after that, even though he might as such not be in the best of hands with Butcher.
Well,
you can see that Butcher, as he says, we have someone in common, and that was Becca.
Yes.
So
someone we both loved. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the kind of connection here, which, in all fairness to Butcher, however amoral he is, with all things to do with Becca, and indeed Terra, and I think also with Ryan, even though
I think there's a stretch here.
Yeah,
this is the problem, because Homelander's a horrible person and keeps telling Ryan he loves him and the two of them should live together. He'll take care of him, and then he beats the crap out of him here. Billy also used to tell Ryan, you're the product of Becca, therefore I love you. Now he's literally lying to his face and willing for him to die in the pursuit of the death of Homelander. He said to him, well, I'll be close to you when you release the virus, and we'll all go down together, basically, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's no love lost here. Billy is not willing to take care of Ryan. He's not going to stand beside him and look out for his best interest. He was literally going to just send him in as a weapon to kill Homelander.
Yeah.
Would have been fine with it. If the virus had been there, all three of them would have been dead by the end of this episode, basically.
And Ryan has agreed to that plan in the pub.
He did initially,
well.
But didn't realize that Billy was just using him as a vessel. He said to him, you're strong enough now to go up against your dad. But then said to him, actually, no, I was lying to you. I only wanted to use you to deliver the virus. Like, brutal. So it might just be a union of convenience to take out Homelander now for Ryan. There's going to be there's no friendship or relationship between Billy and Ryan.
Or there's a turning point here in seeing Ryan.
Maybe.
Because it felt a little like that.
Yeah. There's always the thing with Billy that you don't really know what's going on in his head. He masquerades with this persona. Sometimes the twist is that he's he's even more of a horrible human being than you think he is, and sometimes there's a little bit of a heart underneath it all. There is one note that I made, which I absolutely loved in that conversation with Billy Butcher and Ryan in the pub, where Butcher's describing how much of an arse his dad was before saying he killed him and left him in the Thames.
Yeah,
and
confirmation he's dead.
Yes,
yeah.
But Ryan responded with the fact that I'm not going to turn out like my dad, am I? Meaning that Butcher has turned into an arse just like his dad has.
Well, it's more than an arse, but yes.
yes.
I do also like that Butcher uses the phrase to get him at Homelander's palace of see you next Tuesday food, which I thought was excellent.
That's a great one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. That's my big moment of the episode, is the beating that Ryan gets here and where it leaves him. John, any notes, any things that we haven't mentioned that you want to mention? There's a few things I think that we should be mentioning that we haven't mentioned.
The only one here is I do like the fact that as Dognot, Cindy and Black Noir and the Deep sort of go towards Edgar's bunker, they do actually pass Kimiko and Frenchie, who are filling up the van, and who has Zoe inside of there, and they're talking about their futures, and ultimately they've become a little bit different. Frenchie sees himself as DJing in Berlin, whereas Kimiko is 3 kids, a dog, and a house by the water.
Yes.
So
very different.
Different. Since she has been in the Philippines and so on, and I think that was kind of interesting. However, Frenchie, also is still defending her. I think it's not like something insurmountable. I think it's just the realization that they're in different spaces, but there's still a connection there.
Still love between them.
Yeah, absolutely. I also like
that moment in a lot of people's relationships. You fall in love with someone, you spend your time with them, you absolutely adore them, and then you realize, well, hang on a second, we're in very different spaces. And I think the idea that Frenchie could see a future where he'd be able to have kids after everything he's gone through, it's not possible. And I think he assumed, given Kimiko's upbringing, that she would never consider having children as well. So it is quite interesting that they're on these 2 completely different paths.
And I am still liking that Kimiko is effectively speaking in porn subtitles as well.
My God, her obsession with the amount of porn that she's watching is a bit crazy as well. One of the scenes I really loved in this episode we haven't talked about is MM and Stan Edgar having the conversation about MM's dad and the work that he used to do to try and take down Vought, and then the realization that actually, once again, Stan Edgar realizes the ebb and flow of the world. It's all ebb and flow based on currency, and doesn't really matter who's in charge. Somebody's going to be making the money, so why can't that person be me again, is what Stan's kind of saying. And MM responding with, well, I'm going to be the one that's going to be there putting a bullet in your skull if that ever does happen. So setting MM versus Stan Edgar as their own little final battle for the last episode makes a lot of sense. MM being the de facto leader of the boys, and Stan being the de facto leader of Vought, back up against each other at the end of the season. That's quite cool, because that's where they were right at the first episode of the first season. So really cool. I like the return of the Puppet 7, promoting the Homelander youth camps, or Homelander youth, very Hitler youth.
Indeed.
There. I love that Sage smiling away at the recording, going, I don't know why we're trying to convert other people to this. We can just convert the children using these puppets. Oh, Sister Sage, hilarious,
so good.
And then the final one is just a mention. The Deep knocks out Black Noir, so that he can bring Stan Edgar back to Homelander himself, so he can get all the credit for what he's doing. My God, what is the Deep doing? I thought the Deep and Black Noir were supposed to be compatriots. I know it's a new guy. I get it. But the 2 of them are supposed to be best friends. They're doing the podcast together. They're on each other's side all the time. But the Deep is so aggressively pursuing that second seat on the 7 that he's willing to completely throw his best friend, Black Noir, under the Cybertruck by knocking him out.
But things have been off between the 2 of them actually for a bit, because he has literally been getting the silent treatment from Black Noir.
Yeah. who we know speaks now.
Exactly.
Yeah, we saw him in Gen V. He was a character that has been able to speak. The Deep knows that he's being played by an actor who can speak, but we haven't heard him talk this season at all yet. So, why is that? Why is it?
I think we will find out.
Yeah, I think you have a theory and you're not willing to share it, John.
Well, I think it's more. I'm wondering if it's polarity that's in that suit.
Oh, from Gen V?
From Gen V. I don't know, but it's just the fact that he was captured by Black Noir, then was released by Sage, and then to help get rid of Godolkin, who had come back. So I don't know. There's a feeling here whether he took Black Noir out, because whilst Black Noir was Black Noir, whether the new phase 2 of Black Noir has quite the same cutting edge, but he seems to be much more silent compared to how these two bros were prior to that.
Oh yeah, it's a very, very interesting idea, John. Yeah.
So we'll see.
Because we haven't really seen Black Noir in action these 3 episodes. We've seen him, and he's been very quiet. And we know that this guy that's been in the mask, every time he's been on his own, he started conversations with people. And in season 4 of The Boys and in Gen V. So he seems way more quiet than he should be.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Right, let's see how that plays out. But John, overall, what did you think of the episode?
I absolutely really enjoyed this episode. I give it 5 heavens to Betsy's out of 5.
You love that, didn't you?
I really do. That's just such a great turn of phrase from Firecracker. It's kind of, I guess the other one that I would have used, I can't use because of our PG rating.
Yeah, we're not.
But I think it's what Soldier Boy calls the liquid that Homelander is bathing in.
Oh yes, that one too. That's pretty good.
So that was quite good.
I thought you were going to go for the fortress of.
Well, there's that one as well. The fortress of Solitude with a C.
Yes.
I just really enjoyed this because I like how it played out with fathers, whether it's Soldier Boy, Samir, and with then Homelander. All not what was expected, and the only one maybe that is a positive thing is that Zoe has her father back.
Yeah,
but Ryan has completely lost his, who's then ultimately had a domestic abuse sort of fit on him, the relationship between Soldier Boy and his son is just so competitive, and it's very unhealthy. And so for me, this was just a really good exploration of all of that. I think how. We have Stan Edgar back here. I loved the shock of him being back in the arms of Homelander, back at Vought Tower. Maverick finding out the truth, only to be then killed by Cindy, and that was, to me, was a really good shocker. So I really enjoyed this. It's all basically a race to Compound V version 1, effectively.
Yes, Fort Harmony. Next episode. That's where the boys are off to. That's where they found the potential that V1 was still available there, wasn't it? Yeah. So let's see how that one.
So 5 heavens to Betsy's out of 5 for me. I really enjoyed this.
Fantastic. Oh, I think we need a drink. I think we need to go to the pub, John.
I think we certainly do, fellow boys and girls and fellow quizzers. It is the 3rd question in this pub quiz for season 5. And the question is, what was the name of the medal presented by Vice President Ashley to Soldier Boy?
You may have wondered why we didn't mention that in this episode. Is that a made-up medal, John? Do you think anybody's ever had that before? I
would say yes, normally, but we've literally had images of the second coming of God and Christ in this and on social media.
Yeah. So maybe it's out there.
Who knows?
Brilliant. Do you want to give the question one more time, John?
Yes, it is. What was the name of the medal presented by Vice President Ashley, everyone's favourite Vice President, to Soldier Boy?
That's it. That is the 3rd question of 8. Collect all the 8 answers together at the end of the season. If they're correct, you could be in with a chance of getting your hands on some Boys Season 5 goodies. Email them into us to feedback@tvpodcastindustry.com with where you are in the world, and we'll put you into the hat at the end of the season.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Good luck, fellow quizzers and boys and girls. Remember to get those answers into us at the end of the season.
Absolutely. Time to hear some feedback from our wonderful fellow boys and girls. First up, we have a voicemail in from Harrison Fox.
Hello, fellow boys and girls. This is Harrison Fox calling in, and I just finished watching The Boys Season 5, Episode 3, and this show just continues to be the most unhinged, insane, bat-esque crazy thing on TV. I am shocked at how each season and episode continues to just defy expectations of insanity and what you can get away with. Of course, it's a streaming service, but still, what you can get away with on TV. It's just such a great show, and I'm very nervous about how things are going to end up. Having read the comic, I won't say anything, but we'll see where it's heading. Give this episode 5 bathtubs full of breast milk out of 5. Talk to you guys later.
Excellent stuff, Harrison. Thanks so much for the voicemail. Yeah, I mean, it is quite just unbelievable how these episodes go. You think they've raised the bar on something inappropriate, gory, whatever it might be, and bish bash bosh, it comes on in. And then actually, you realize that in some cases, like for this this episode, the President of the United States has actually literally done the same thing, or someone in his entourage or White House. So that was the most crazy thing that I thought around this episode. So which is really kind of interesting, because it's like, I'd love to ask the writers, I guess you're trying to get into the head of an egotistical megalomaniac.
Yeah.
And you're like, does this extrapolate? I don't know.
It's just because
it's fantastic TV.
It's because we tend to see that the real life person is so unpredictable. That's why it seems so shocking when something that they do on this show is replicated in the real world, because you're going, well, they can't possibly have predicted that that's what was going to happen in the real world. And it seems like they did. It's crazy. Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Harrison, for your feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it always takes me back to Amanda Annucci, who did In the Thick of It, which was in the UK, but also
Veep in the US,
Veep
wasn't it?
in the US, and kind of political satire. And he's basically kind of made the point repeatedly. I think even in maybe the first term of Trump back in 2016 is like, well, and it even goes into like British politics with Brexit and so on. It's just like, well, satire is dead. It's really difficult to actually make it that absurd that it becomes political satire.
Yes, it's not even satire anymore. We're just sitting around laughing at how crazy it is as the world burns around our ears. There's no way to criticize it, no way to make up things that are funnier that are happening in the real world, but they're actually happening, which is terrifying. Anyway, let's move off that. Let's move on to a bit of feedback on email from Christina, who says, oi, oi, fellow boys and girls. As we are in the final season, I thought it was high time I sent in some feedback to one of my favourite pods. Another fantastic episode, more and more stakes abound for the boys and antagonists in episode 3. Is this confirmation of a human side to Butcher? His reaction to the absolutely shocking and brutal attack on Ryan shows there's still empathy and sorrow in there, somewhere. Ryan put up a pretty good fight initially with his father. Let's hope that's a good sign for future takedown. I wonder if we saw foreshadowing in the fact that Kimiko sees a white picket future, one that Frenchie isn't envisioning, and he may sacrifice himself for her to have it. Interesting dynamic with Firecracker and Soldier Boy. Now she has no power with Homelander. Perhaps there will be forces joined for good. Maybe a little too much optimism from me?
Maybe. Just maybe.
Finally, Homelander's further descent to madness is fascinating to watch. I can't wait to see what he has planned for Stan Edgar. I assume Stan will play Homelander's game as a survival technique. Also, how are Ashley and her Professor Quirrellified head head going to deal with Stan's return? Loving Series 5 and your corresponding episode. It was such a pleasant surprise to stumble across the pod in 2022. Not only consistently a well-structured and engaging listen, but also to hear my fellow Irish-ish brethren. Looking forward to hearing your upcoming thoughts, as always, Christina. Thanks so much, Christina.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Christina. Great to get your thoughts through. I'm kind of with you around potentially this possibly showing Butcher's human side, but I think it's pulling him out of, I guess, his really dark funk that he's been in. And I think, like, earlier on in The Boys, there was always that human side to him. Yes, he talked a good game. Yes, he was someone who would do extreme things when up against extremely powerful beings.
Yeah.
But there was always that human side, and through whatever it is, whether it's desperation, the loss of people around him, like Mallory, like Becca, he has gone into this desperate bid to try and match Homelander as the only way. And maybe, just maybe, that final scene is showing that he's suddenly realized his human side again.
Maybe.
Because, Huey has been saying, you've lost everything. Where's your humanity? So it's really been sort of flagged here by Huey.
Yes.
And maybe this just helps him to understand he pushed it too far by becoming like his enemy, effectively.
Yeah, maybe he's gone too far. Maybe he will realize it. Because it was quite interesting when Ryan arrived initially in that opening scene and tried to push Billy using his superpowers, and Billy stopped him dead. There was no push there, right? He's not as much of a pushover anymore now that he's taken V and has his little tentacles in there as well. So, but yeah, very interesting. Great to hear from you as well, Christina. Thanks so much for your feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. Also on email, we have Coffee and Vodka for episode 3, who says, "Greetings, fellow forever defenders. With our double MacGuffins established, the virus and V1, and the character deck well reshuffled, it's anyone's guess what will happen next. The only certainty with the next major kerfuffle point located, the mysterious army base, is that we're looking at another cast reduction point very soon. Should Ryan survive this season, I'd hate to be the one footing his therapy bill. Speaking of psychosis, it's nice to see Homelander come down with a classic Messiah complex, complete with a vision of Madelyn. Possible programming by O'Father, maybe. Ooh. And Huey's completed his father and son guts bath set with Translucent and Maverick. So there's that. My only ask at this point would be the inclusion of the Gen V crew sometime soon. So far, so gooey. 4 body spray miasmas, lamb chop memories, and violated viruses out of 5. Peace and take care. Coffee and Vodka." Great stuff. Thanks, Coffee and Vodka, for the feedback. The therapy bill, I think, for Ryan is going to be huge, and he probably will need it because I think he's survived that punch, the punch down from Homelander. So I think he's come close to that point where he could have died.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be interesting whether he does survive, but I think he will. But yes, lots of therapy.
Yeah. It's such a big episode for Ryan that they've had loads of videos of him over the course of the last 4 seasons of the show. He was revealed in the first season, and just the actor who plays him now, Cameron Corvetti, just seeing him age over the course of these. It's about 7 years since his first appearance, and then to now, he was such a tiny little kid when he was thrown off the roof by Homelander to test whether he could fly, and now here he is standing toe to toe against Billy Butcher and then Homelander in one episode. So,
really good.
It's really cool.
And I love your thought that this could be programming by O'Father on Homelander.
Love
that is a great idea.
Yeah,
really like the sound of that.
So is O'Father trying to create the new Messiah? At the funeral of A-Train. Ooh, how cool is that?
Because he is there as well in Vought Tower with Soldier Boy, I think.
Right, is he?
I think so.
Yeah.
But I'll double check that.
Absolutely. Great stuff. Thanks so much, Coffee and Vodka, for your feedback.
Thanks, Coffee and Vodka.
Next up, Meryl Smith says, welcome back, fathers and sons, which is what this episode should have been called, given how heavily the themes of father and sons were rampant throughout the episode.
Absolutely.
First things first, I've been watching several movies and TV shows by the time all these other shows, Daredevil Born Again, The Boys, Invincible, have come out, so it's kind of thrown my normal way of doing things off. Normally, I would have been sending emails about the episodes as they come out, but this setback has changed things, so some of the episodes will still be talked about and sent in different sections at different times. Just giving you guys a heads up beforehand. Hopefully the situation is back to normal next week. Now, back to this episode. I'm so glad we didn't lose Soldier Boy, at least not this early in the season, because Jensen Ackles just brings a spectacular presence to the show in a way where you're always enthralled whenever he's on screen, and he really just doesn't say anything and makes it work. His scenes with Anthony Starr are just the highlight of the episode, and you can just tell by his performance that he thinks he's in another show, and all his reactions to Homelander being a dang-ass freak are the actor's genuine reactions, and he's just improvising in the moment. I'm fully convinced this show has some type of milk sponsorship, and this is a weird way of promoting their product. It's always nice to see Madelyn Stillwell, and that imagery could not be more perfectly timed given what happened in the world a couple of days ago. Our boys' crew continues to go through the proverbial ringer of trauma as Huey has to confront Maverick, and he does not do that well at all. R.I.P. Love that the llama was referenced as well, though. A dynamic that I didn't know that I needed, but I'm extremely grateful for, was that one of MM and Stan Edgar. The way they discussed the ways of the world and their place in it was really nice and had some deep themes to it. The moment I saw Firecracker and Soldier Boy interact, I knew they were going to have a 4th of July special or make fireworks. I had a load of different euphemisms that I came up with, but these were the top contenders.
Heavens to Betsy.
Lastly, on the world's worst custody battle in television history between Homelander, Ryan and Butcher, we see in real time how both Homelander and Butcher's fathers affected them, and they each transfer that trauma onto Ryan and Butcher. It's psychological, and with Homelander, it's physical. I know the shows are both on Amazon, but I did not think that we'd be getting a reenactment of the Think Mark Think scene from Invincible, but here we are, and now I have to update the worst things Homelander has ever done list. I'm curious to see where things go from here. 3.5 invisible children seeking vengeance, firecrackers getting off, Soldier Boy put downs, Think Ryan Thinks, and puby milk baths out of 5.
Grey puby milk bath.
Uh-huh.
Excellent stuff, Meryl. Really glad you're enjoying the show by the sounds of it. Loving your thoughts here for sure. In particular, the 4th of July specials. Really good. I wouldn't mind getting that list for when I'm next in America to speak to the American in-laws.
Oh, really? What's happening?
Yes, your brothers.
My brothers, yes. Your brothers-in-law, yes. It's really interesting. There was one of the interviews that Jensen Ackles had done has said that there is a scene coming up, as we know, with the 3 main actors from Supernatural, Misha Collins, Jensen Ackles, and Jared Padalecki, and Jensen Ackles has revealed that they did an alternate take of that, where they're characters from Supernatural in the world of the boys.
Excellent.
Which we all want to see.
Yeah.
We hope, if this is going to ever get released on physical media and they have outtakes, that has to be there, doesn't it? Because you can imagine what the Winchester brothers would react like if the world was full of these types of superheroes. I would say the shotguns would be coming out pretty quickly, wouldn't they?
Well, I think with Misha Collins, could reprise his angelic role, and the others taking down demons.
There you go. Yes, exactly. Great stuff. Thanks so much, Meryl, for your feedback.
Yeah, thanks, Meryl. Great to get your thoughts in. Over on Discord, Kenlog says Soldier Boy is going to turn on both Homelander and the boys, is my guess. Meanwhile, Walt658 says it will be interesting if Soldier Boy is now depowered. Either way, he's going to be really angry at Homelander for not warning him about the virus. Ashley is now Quirrell-Mort from Harry Potter, the Philosopher's Stone. Dr. Bob goes, given we've hit them with gore, sex, torture, violence, coercion, and the disgraceful waste of donated breast milk, how else can we rip them up? I know, let's do an episode all about family ties and how traumatic they can be. Cracking plan. Shall we add a pint and call back to the first murder little Huey did? Go on then, As an extra treat for you, real conversation in the writer's room, possibly. I quite enjoyed this episode, even forgave them the crap explanation of cell surface markers and virology.
Ooh.
Okay, yes, that would be the spiky thing and the smooth thing.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent stuff.
Yes, that did seem a little bit simplistic.
It did, but my simplistic understanding of biological science meant I could understand that.
I got it. The that one has spiky bits that can keep the virus on it. That one doesn't, so you can't possibly do it. Brilliant. Thanks so much for that, Dr. Bob.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Bob. And also, I think now we've seen Soldier Boy's probably not depowered because he's got the V1 version 1 compound in his bloodstream. And I think, Soldier Boy is the nice little grenade here.
He is.
Like, who will be hit by the shrapnel? Will it be both Homelander and the boys, or maybe one will get a more full in the face amount from that explosion that is going to be Soldier Boy?
I think it'll be in every direction. Basically, he'll punch at anybody who tries to deny him his immortality, really.
And yes, Quirrell Mort, absolutely, for old Ashley.
I wonder, was that the nickname that lots of people gave? I don't remember back in the day when I was reading those books. Quirrell Mort. I don't remember that.
No, I don't think so. I think it's...
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's
possibly,
yeah. Yeah. Great stuff. Thanks so much for that feedback on Discord. We also have some feedback here from Joe Herbist. She said, definitely enjoying this season more than last. I haven't had a chance to listen to the new episode yet, so not sure if you've discussed this, but what's up with Black Noir? Someone wondered if maybe original Noir had gotten the V1, so survived Homelander killing him, and he's come back to replace new Black Noir. But it doesn't seem like he was around back during early days of Vought, and his name wasn't in the files they read of people who got V1. Homelander could see through his suit, so it seems unlikely it's anyone other than Noir 2, but I don't know what would explain his odd behaviour. Maybe given what Deep did to him, he'll take some action next episode to reveal what's going on.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe. I think,
that puts paid to my theory that or your theory that polarity is in the suit, because, Homelander would probably see through that, wouldn't he?
I guess so, unless polarity can do some polarizing that maybe sort of disrupts Homelander's vision. But even the heartbeat thing, that Homelander might sense, that nervous disposition, unless the reason why he's so silent is he's having to focus on how to effectively maintain his subterfuge, really, so that he isn't noticed by Homelander. But I think you're right. There is an oddness, though, that's crept in between Black Noir 2 and the Deep, so
definitely
it'll be good to get some kind of explanation there for sure. Yeah, great stuff. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And finally, over on Facebook, we got a bit of feedback in from Heather Wallace, who says, are Kripke and crew time travelers who popped ahead to the future and saw the Dr. Jesus post and wove a close copy of it into their script for episode 3? Or are they actually embedded in the White House and are creating a real-life dystopian hellscape? Either way, this show is as chilling as The Handmaid's Tale.
Absolutely. I must say, I was wondering as well, are the White House just copying what's being done in these shows now?
Like, it is interesting that we didn't get them for this season, but usually the screeners come out about a month before the episode comes on air on Prime Video. So it's entirely possible that someone within the Trump administration saw these episodes as previews before they were released and went, this sounds like a really interesting thing to do to distract people from certain files again when it gets around to it. So we'll schedule it for the same week as that show that I've seen all the episodes of.
Absolutely. I mean, this is just crazy at this stage. The parallels. We'll see how it goes. See if he starts a war.
Absolutely. Yep. Excellent stuff. That is it for all of our feedback for this episode. You can continue to send in your feedback to feedback@tvpodcastindustries.com. I've said feedback a lot there, but pop on over to our Discord, of course, as well. Details of which are in the show notes, or you can join us over on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/TV Podcast Industry. 3 shows coming out with new episodes every single week at the moment. Invincible finale is coming out this week. We have The Boys Season 5, Episode 4, Though the Heavens Fall. And we have a brand new episode of Daredevil Born Again coming out this week as well. So lots and lots of shows to chat about. All coming out Wednesday, and we'll try to cover them all before next Wednesday.
Yes, excellent stuff. Well, I think with that, fellow boys and girls, great to have you on board, as always, for the podcast.
Mhm.
Until next time, though, keep watching, keep listening, and, of course, keep proclaiming Betsy in heaven.
Bye.
Bye.